afternoon. Thank you for joining us here again today. We are here today to provide you with an update on our state of local emergency and associated response. And we have 3 town representatives here today to provide you with that update. Mayor Jeff Janung, our CAO Mike Derricott, and our Director of Emergency Coordination Center, Sean Pauly. We ask that you please hold your questions until the end of the conference so we can provide you with all necessary information. I would now like to turn it over to Mayor Jeff Janung.
Great. I was going to say good morning. It feels like morning still. It's afternoon. Good afternoon. It's been a long few days here in Cochrane. First want to thank, we'll take the time to thank the media again for being here, sharing our messaging out to our community and our residents around the ongoing water and wastewater incident that is taking place here in our community. Earlier this morning, as Kristen mentioned, I signed off on declaring a state of local emergency. The reason for this is that it provides us legal authority to take extraordinary actions to deal with the crisis at hand. And I would add that this includes canceling a public hearing we had scheduled for tonight and our council meeting. We appreciate that emergencies such as this have impacts far-reaching beyond the site itself, and I think that's why we're all in front of you here this afternoon. I'm thankful for the cooperation and support we are seeing from the provincial government. Neighboring municipalities have just been excellent. Local businesses and the response efforts continue with all of those parties, especially the City of Calgary and Rocky County and the community of Harmony. Wish to thank those 3 communities especially. I'd also like to extend my gratitude to all of the Cochrane employees who've been working around the clock to rectify the break in our water system. And also, yesterday I was remiss in thanking the contractors on site as well. This has not just been a town of Cochrane response. This has been, as I mentioned, City of Calgary, Rocky County, other communities. It's not only our staff. Now it's reaching points where we're starting to get into reserves. Our people are getting tired, and it's been a long few days. So just why we've gone to state of local emergency, I mentioned some of the extraordinary measures that are able to be activated through that, but also we had initially put water restrictions in place, and that's not working, to be quite frank. Yesterday we saw the single highest water use day in the month of October by our residents, and it was not related to the leak. It was people consuming water from our reservoirs. So we are focused on fixing this, folks, and of course we'll turn our attention to what's next after that. We're always getting lots of questions online and through phone calls, etc., about whose fault or what are we doing next. And we're going to repeat what we said yesterday. We are 100% focused, and our priority is fixing the leaks, and then we're going to move into remediation. And obviously, we're interested in how this happened in the first place. But with that, I've got a whole line of technical experts standing beside me. I'm going to pass it now to Sean Pauly, our Director of Emergency Coordination Center, to provide more information. Chief?
Thank you very much, Mayor Janung. So, you know, this morning I put out the media release just to make sure that we were strong in our conviction around what's actually happening in the town, and I want to thank the mayor for his support and reiterating that message. These are difficult times and challenging times for the Emergency Coordination Center and our staff that are working hard to get the situation under control. So we just want to reiterate some of our key messages, that the situation continues to evolve, and we really want to ensure that everyone is informed and aware of our current state. This is a temporary, there is a temporary solution in place to stop the wastewater from flowing into the Bow River. So that was the statement I made yesterday, and I just want to make sure it was clear that we have, this temporary solution has been holding for the past 24 hours. So we're proud of the work that has gone into that. We're going to continue to pump our sewage downstream and go through its treatment process. The water line that was impacted during this incident is still not fixed, and that is our number one focus right now. We are unable to isolate this line, so we are continuing to lose water. While we would normally just close surrounding valves, attempts to isolate the break have not been successful and is the cause for our concerns. Throughout this incident, our crews have been actively monitoring the levels of our water reservoirs. We often receive information every 2 hours on what consumption is, and these levels are used to make future decisions and provide water to our community and support emergency fire suppression at a moment's notice. Overnight, town crews saw significant water depletion in Cochrane's reservoir supply, leaving water levels at a critical state. I want to ensure that you are clear that water is safe to drink inside the town of Cochrane. Water quality is not our problem. Water quantity is our problem. These levels directly impact our ability to provide water to the community and ensure we have the required water resources to support our citizens and our emergency fire response. As a result, we did make the decision today to, with the support of Mayor and Council, for the state of local emergency, an important tool that we can use to make extraordinary actions and take extraordinary steps to deal with this emergency while at hand. Thank you for this opportunity, and now I'm going to pass it on to our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Derek Cott, to provide information on the role that citizens and businesses can play within the town. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief Pauly. Just to first reiterate a few statements that were already made, the drinking water in Cochrane continues to be safe, and as Chief just mentioned, it's the quantity of water that is the issue, not the quality. I also want to echo appreciation that Mayor Janung mentioned for staff and contractors and all who are working diligently to seek a solution to this significant issue. The situation is critical, and as Chief mentioned, residents and businesses in Cochrane have an important part to play. We are asking all residents and businesses to adhere to the emergency mandatory water conservation order. This is critical to maintaining safe water levels in our reservoirs here in Cochrane. Please use water only as necessary for at home drinking water and basic hygiene needs, and at business, please limit the water as much as you possibly can. We're actively engaged in a number of efforts to respond to this, including trucking water in from other communities. Currently, that is taking place from the community of Harmony, and we expect starting tomorrow that we will also be hauling and accepting water from the city of Calgary. Emergency repairs to the site continue to be our top priority. We appreciate working with our regional mutual aid partners to ensure the availability of fire suppression protection should it be required. We also want to reiterate that if water consumption continues at its current levels, we are at risk for being unable to provide some communities without water. This is of course a last resort, and we're making every effort to prevent this. We appreciate your cooperation, as we navigate this situation. We ask also that you please respect that our entire organization is currently focused on responding to this emergency. If there are any issues you have to work through with the town that can wait until this situation eases, we ask that you please do hold off on contacting the town at this time. The best place to get information remains formal social media sites of the town and our website. We'll now be happy to take some questions, and again, I'll try and direct traffic here between myself and the Mayor and Chief Pauly.
Are you able to talk at all about, there's been some questions about what the water reserves were like prior to this. Were we at lows before this even happened, or is this just a massive depletion of water, or is it both?
Yeah, no, our water reserves were at a normal level. They are not static, they are dynamic day to day and week to week. Those levels can be different depending on a number of factors. But prior to this event, we were at normal reservoir water levels.
Can you talk a little bit about what the infrastructure is like here in Cochrane? How many reserves you guys have? Maybe which ones are the ones that are actually depleted?
Yeah, I will try to add a little bit of information. Maybe the best way I would say is we do have a fairly complex water system in Cochrane, in part due to the topography. When you have a valley and hills, moving water up and down those requires a number of reservoirs. I don't want to get the number wrong to say, but we do have more than a handful of significant reservoirs that require balancing, and they interact in a pretty complex manner that our staff are constantly monitoring. And so that is certainly part of what adds to the complexity of this situation. We currently have two reservoirs that we would consider to be at critical levels, and several that are actually doing okay well, so that's good news. And we'll continue to monitor that and respond accordingly.
So since we're talking about infrastructure, what should you have to, and should you have to shut down water to a particular community? Can you give us some idea of what's involved in that and how much of an extra burden it is to town and the after effects?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you for the question. We're absolutely trying to avoid that because there is a very significant process that follows. If you depressurize a potable water system, you have to disinfect and flush and test before you can declare that water usable again, and that could take a number of days to complete that process. So that is one of the main efforts we're making, is to avoid the need to have to go through that process.
Now, with today's measures, do you have any timeline of what you hope will be the, restoration of levels?
Yeah, I think two things I would say to that is the water hauling operation is extending our time frames, but please, water conservation remains critical to that effort. That we hope will give us enough time to appropriately isolate the break and fix it so that we can return to filling those reservoirs.
Yesterday you indicated you're reaching out to other communities, other sources. You mentioned Harmony in particular. Are you continuing to do that?
Yes, Harmony is currently providing water, and we are working with the City of Calgary as well, and expect that to be online tomorrow.
Just add,
in regards,
if I could, please, just for a second.
Sorry, go ahead.
On the water.
Sorry,
Just come up to the mic.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I need our CAO here for this one too, but I just wanted to speak to the water and the reservoir levels. This is not just simply an exercise of open the reservoir and put a pipe in the river and pump it in there. Treated water is, and I need an expert to help me back that up, but I mean, I've seen some dialogue around, well, why can't we just do this, or why can't we just do that? It's a very complex dynamic system that Mr. Derricott is speaking to. We can't just put a pipe in the river and pump a reservoir full and that's going to fix this. It needs to be treated water, and not just a treated water, but a type of treated water. Otherwise, we're into the system that Mr. Derricott's talking about. But maybe you could expand that.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I think I would add to that in terms of treated water, even the compatibility of the chemicals that are used to treat water. Different jurisdictions can use different processes. And so part of the process has been to ensure that it's safe to add the City of Calgary's potable drinking water to our system. And we've determined now that that will be an acceptable measure. And so we'll be implementing that. But it did take some time to determine that.
Thank you for that. With restrictions, the efforts you made today, it looks like with the state of emergency you've put in place, it gives you more authority in that. Are you looking at other measures if this doesn't work? For example, touching on more businesses and operations in town that consume a lot of water.
Absolutely. We have, as we mentioned yesterday, been in touch with several of our largest water users, including the rec center, and have asked them to work with us, and they've been very responsive. If necessary, it could include things such as more direct or stringent business restrictions, as well as I think the situation I mentioned that we're really trying to avoid is shutting off waters to areas of our communities, which would require a whole nother set of responses. And we believe a state of a local emergency best prepares us to deal with that should it become necessary.
So do you have a list of businesses that you're in contact with right now that you've identified beyond what you already have?
Yeah, I will just note probably too at this point, both have Spray Lakes in their name, the mill as well as the rec center have been our two major targets at this point. We have not made any other specific requests.
I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but you look like is this gentleman with Public Works, or?
I am.
Yeah. Shane Hubble is our Director of Operations.
So the two pipes are broken, are both correct? There was a sewer pipe broken, there was a water pipe broken. Are they both fully repaired now, both those pipes?
No, they're not. Neither has been repaired. The sewer line has been bypassed. We have a temporary bypass in place, and the water line is still ruptured at this point, and we are losing water actively. We have not been able to appropriately isolate that water break.
You haven't been able to isolate? You haven't been able to find it?
No, we know where the location of the break is, but in a ideal situation when you have a water break, you're able to operate valves, isolate the break with the limited exposure, make the repair. This being a significant line, this has not been something we've been able to do yet at this stage.
I think we need to speak to the location as well. This is again, we keep saying complex situation. The location of the line itself and then the line itself of what it's utilized for is what's really causing the issue. So if you'd imagine a trench filling full of water from this leak, crews can't get down to the line itself to actually do the repair until we have the ability to shut off the water. Shutting off the water is the last resort, as we've all spoken to today. That has other implications that goes into days and longer days of getting the repair fixed. At this point, we're focused on trying to get that water shut off so the repair can happen and then turn the water back on without disrupting water to any business or residents. That, again, is the last resort. So yeah, getting that line so the trench is not full of water is priority number one.
So you're just gonna have to might have to just keep digging a bigger and bigger hole and draining it out till you can get to it, right? This could be measured in days, maybe weeks.
Well, I certainly hope that we don't go into weeks. We do believe that the incident will continue at least for the next several days, both in terms of the repair and then the remediation following that. I did want to add as well is that crews have daylighted both the sewer and water line to observe materials and construction so that we can have all fixtures and fittings required to make the repair as soon as we can access the breakage.
Did the snow slow you down in any way?
Yeah, the weather was an unwelcome piece of that. I think the biggest impact it had as we were just starting water hauling operations, and as traffic was impacted by that, it slowed our ability to move water. But other than that, I don't believe, other than of course making it a little bit less comfortable to work, there hasn't been any other significant impacts.
Okay, my last one. Any further update on the cost?
We're not prepared to comment on that other than that there was active work in the area and a line was impacted.
Thanks.
Can you speak a little more just to your communication in terms of getting this out so that community members know? We've heard specifically that, maybe some seniors, because you guys have been so good at putting it out on social media, but maybe some seniors aren't getting the message, that kind of thing. What are you guys doing to make sure that people?
Yeah, absolutely. Getting information out is critical, and I was complimentary of the media and appreciate you all being here today. That is obviously an important part of us sharing information. We also have used the Alberta Emergency Alert System, to ensure that information travels as widely as it possibly can. We do encourage people, as you are interacting with the information, sharing it on social media, please share only official information from the town of Cochrane. Misinformation can become an issue in these situations, and so while we appreciate people trying their best to help people know what's going on, pointing them in the direction of our official channels is the best way to do that.
And while you guys have emphasized how critical this is for the town right now, and for people to be taking these steps, these are still considered voluntary measures at this point, are they not? Are there any consequences for people that aren't following these actions?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think the consequences would be that we would have to take more distinct measures, such as communities being out of water, and so there's some pretty natural consequences that we're working to avoid, but at this point, no, we're not looking at any administrative penalties or anything like that, and hopefully can avoid the necessity of anything like that.
Based on where the two reservoirs are that are the most critical, could you say which communities would potentially be impacted first?
Yeah, I think we would prefer not to comment on that at this stage, but we will certainly give any community that is going to be affected in a significant way as much notice as we possibly can.
I think that's part of the complexity, and I'm trying to jump in as the layperson here and provide some, maybe some residential kind of commentary. That what Mr. Derricott's speaking of is that the location of the reservoir and the complexity of the system may not mean that neighborhood is going to be impacted. It might be one way over on the other side of our community that is drawing on that for pressure or something else. So that's why we can't say as much as we'd like to. But the other thing is that we are going to do our best efforts to notify any businesses or residents should we have to go to that last resort and go to water outages. So, and maybe one of our technical people here can also speak further to that emergency alert. We just can't use an emergency alert how we feel as a community. There are strict guidelines put in place by the province, so we're limited in how we can utilize that system. And maybe that's all we need to say about that.
I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Thank you for the question around the Alberta Emergency Alert and communication. So we issued a critical alert, and that's was an important step in ensuring we're broadcasting our message quite far and reaching as many community members as we can. And we have a liaison officer, and that role of that person is to actually reach out and build those connections. So we've spoken to the Rocky View School Division, we've spoken to our schools, they've reached out and back with us. We're working with our seniors' homes and our local seniors' homes at providing clarification and questions. So we've had great uptake with those high user water user pieces. And I think the one part is when we're talking about a water line, we're talking about a 450 millimeter pipeline. So we're talking this. Can I reach across it? Actually, I haven't been down to the site. Yeah. We're talking a water line that's this big. We're not talking about a garden hose. We're not talking about what you would see buried in. We're talking about big concrete vaults, the ones that you see on big infrastructure projects. That's the complexity we're dealing with here. We're not talking this big. So that's the part I think that just needs a little bit of clarity and just some clear direction around what some of those challenges are. And we also making sure the safety of the staff that are working. Those contractors are down in those trenches. They have safety rules and safety regulations that they're following, understanding fully that the public consumption of water is our #1 priority, and developing safe water.
So why not just rip the Band-Aid off, shut the tap off, bring in potable water for people, and get it repaired? What's the biggest concerns there?
Yeah, thank you. As I mentioned before, there's two major concerns with that. Is when you depressurize the system, one, that there can be additional damage to the system, valving, leakage, etc., as well as there is an extensive process of flushing, disinfection, and testing that would have to go in place prior to the water system being usable again. And that can take, with a system, depending on the significance of the shutdown, several days to accomplish. And so we're working very hard to avoid that. We obviously know that it's a possibility that we may have to do that, but there are significant implications to that action.
So you're hopeful that you can repair it in a shorter amount of time than having to go that route?
Without having to depressurize large parts of the system is our objective now.
Okay, and is this break demonstrating maybe a flaw in the system?
Yeah, so as I mentioned yesterday, this project has been identified as an important redundancy in our utility system, and again, this is an unfortunate way to confirm how critical this piece of infrastructure is for our community.
Okay. You have a question? Oh, can you, how much water are you actually losing? Like, can you qualify it or quantify it for us? Is it the equivalent of 500 houses usage per hour kind of thing, just as an example?
Yeah, I think I won't try to quantify that for you. It is a large amount of water. What I will say is we'll put together some information that we can share with the media and the public here on some of those volumes. But we do have that number. I just don't have it in front of me.
Is there any estimate in terms of, I mean, if we were to continue in the days ahead at the rate we were going yesterday, how long our reserves would last before the outages would?
Yeah. Thank you. I think we are into a 24-hour period is our most concerning, and this is the efforts to haul water is what is extending that for us, and our success and efficiency in that exercise may increase that time, as well as we hope improved conservation efforts by our community members will also give us more time as well.
Are you with the town or with us?
I'm with the town. My name is Shane.
Hi, sorry. I'll get your name after if we need to coach it, but I don't think we do. I don't anyway. Who's actually doing, the first thing that has to happen is get that saddle on that pipe. Who's actually doing the repair on the pipe? Is it Whistle, you?